Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women in Ministry TV. I'm Brenda Fields, and I am your teacher for this morning. So, thank you all for getting up early this morning and joining me. For the past maybe about 9 to 10 weeks, I've been discussing titles and subjects from my book, Keys to Becoming a Victorious Woman. So many of you have this book. If you don't, you can get it on Amazon. So this is where our study will be coming from for the remaining few weeks as we go through discussing keys and principles that women can apply to their lives in order to live victoriously and have success in various areas. For the past maybe 9 or 10 weeks, and we started this the first week of January, we've already discussed 8 keys, and this morning I will be discussing the ninth key. But before I go into key number 9, I would like to kind of do a review of the 8 keys that we have already gone through. And I like to encourage everyone, even as we're going through these new keys, be sure to go back from the previous weeks to make sure that you're still implementing these keys to your life and looking at your progress as you're going forward. So, the 8 keys that we've already discussed are key number 1, the importance of totally submitting your life to God's plan for your life. Totally submitting yourself to God's plan for your life. Our key number 2 was the importance of total submission in total or daily communion with God. So the importance of communicating with God on a daily basis, from your prayer life, from seeking Him to direction, from seeing just what His plan is for your life. Our key number 3 was seeking God's favor. Key number 4 was the importance of knowing your purpose. Key number 5 was recognizing greater causes and realizing that whoever you are, whatever your title is, be it in ministry or on your secular job, remember that you are put there for a purpose and it's usually not about you. So the key was it's not about you. Key number 6 was the importance of staying focused on your goals and not getting sidetracked. So many times the enemy puts stuff in our view to get us off track and to stop us from focusing on the things that we need to focus on for those particular times in our life. Key number 7 was the importance of being faithful over our responsibilities, whatever it is that God has assigned us to, whatever it is you've been assigned to on your job or in other areas of your life, whatever titles you have, be faithful to those responsibilities and do your best at what you do. Number 8, and we talked about this on last week with Rebecca, was the importance of developing a servant's heart, learning how to serve others as you're serving unto the Lord. So developing a servant's heart. And this morning, we will go into our key number 6. And our key key number 9. And key number 9 is the importance of going above and beyond the expectations. So going above and beyond what's expected of you. So many times, I see people on the job and just in life who do just enough to get by. Just enough of their job to say, hey, I've done what I was put here to do. I've done what I was hired to do. But all of us can probably agree that when we look over different occurrences in our life, and when we look over people that we've interacted with, we're usually more favorable towards those people who go a little bit above what's expected of them. Whether you're in the drive-through at McDonald's and you get a little extra, or whether you witness people, and I've seen people sometimes they'll post what they witnessed just in the community of people doing good deeds. When you see an employee who's hired to maybe just bring the food to the table, but they go the extra mile. Maybe they see someone who needs assistance with eating or needs assistance with being fed, or maybe help cutting their food up, and they go that extra mile. They weren't hired to do that, but they take their job serious. And because they have that heart to serve and that heart to go above and beyond, guess what? They didn't just limit themselves to bringing the food to the table, but they'll say, you know what, if you need my assistance in A, B, C, D, then I can do this too. So there's so many ways in our life that we can go above and beyond. And when you go above and beyond, on your job, in the ministries that you are a part of, going above and beyond helps people to look at you more favorable. If you think, even if you were running your own company, or many of you may be running your own companies, when it comes to employees, would you rather have an employee who just did what was in the job title, what was in their job description, or would you want those employees who had the wisdom enough that even when they may have been hired to sweep the floor, but if they saw the floor needed mopping too, that they had enough initiative to go that extra mile and mop the floor also. Or maybe that person who was hired to be the secretary, but another need arises and you don't have to tell them every step to go, everything to do, but that they've got wisdom enough that they can make a decision that I can do a little bit more than what I was hired to do. And so that's even with us. And our key, we talked last week, we discussed the previous few keys that we've been discussing. We've been talking about Rebecca, the wife of Isaac. And before she became the wife of Isaac, as Abraham's servant was looking for a wife for his son, one of the characteristics that he was looking for was that she had a servant's heart. And when he was testing and when he came to that well, he asked Rebecca for water. And she said, not only will I bring you water, but I'll get water for your horses also. And so in doing that, Rebecca demonstrated this key, going above and beyond our expectations. Our key scripture for this morning is going to come from Colossians 3:23 through 24. So you can turn with me in your Bible to this chapter, or if you have your book, Keys to Becoming a Victorious Woman, then it's actually there in the key scripture for this particular chapter. I also have it on your screen. So Colossians 3:23 through 24. And it says, and whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men. So your focus should be, when I'm doing something, I'm doing it as to the Lord and not as though I'm doing it to men. And when your mentality of doing whatever you do as you're doing it unto the God of the universe, you know what, your overall view of what you're doing actually changes. When it comes to, I'm going in the kitchen to wash dishes, for my sisters or my brothers because we need clean dishes. Imagine I'm washing a dish for the King of the universe. Guess what? You're going to go above and beyond when it comes to fulfilling that duty. You're going to make sure that those dishes are cleaner than they've ever been cleaned before. You're going to make sure that that house is cleaner than it's been before. Well, guess what? You should take that same view when you're doing anything. Do it as though you're doing it unto the Lord. Sometimes we just do enough to get by when we're doing it for people, or, depending on our view of those people. But when we go the extra mile, when the president of the United States is coming to your house, guess what? You'll probably hire a professional cleaner to come in and clean that house because you want to make sure that there's no spots anywhere. Or when your boss or your supervisor is coming, for a visit. We go a little extra mile than what we usually do. But guess what? We should always go those extra miles. We should always take it a step above of what that expectation is. And in doing that, guess what? You're sure to please. That when you set your goal to please the highest person, to please God, then guess what? Other people are going to be pleased too, because it's going to be done with the spirit of excellence. So continuing on in this key verse, so do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the Lord Christ. For you serve Christ. So when you do it as unto the Lord, when your focus is doing whatever I do to please God and doing it as unto God, then you know that you are doing the right thing. You're taking it above and beyond, and you're doing your best. And when you're doing your best, you're sure to succeed. So talking about Rebecca and how she demonstrated these keys, and I am on page 35 through 37 of your workbook, Keys to Becoming a Victorious Woman. So after Abraham's servant asked Rebecca for a drink of water, she lowered her pitcher and then she replied, "Drink, my lord." She then saw that his camels also were in need of water. And look at what she did. It said that she proceeded to run back and forth, filling that trough until all 10 camels had enough water to drink. So he only asked her for water for himself. But Rebecca, being who she was and having that servant's heart and that spirit of excellence, look at what she did. She said, not only will I give you drink, but I'll also give drink and bring drink enough for your camels. And can you imagine, if you're a lazy person, you're not going to do anything extra. You're not going to think about going that extra mile. You would have done just what he asked. And what he asked would have been enough if you had done that. And that would have been give him water. And many of us would not have been concerned of the fact that the camels also needed water, but Rebecca noticed that need and she got right on the job. She said, not only am I going to give you water, but I'm also going to get water for your camels. And can you imagine how much running back and forth Rebecca had to do in order to satisfy the thirst of those camels? That was a lot of running back and forth, but Rebecca did it and she did it with a pure heart. She did it with an honest heart. She did it with a heart of not expecting anything in return because that was the heart of Rebecca. And that was one of the traits. That was what he was looking for. And when he was looking for a wife for Abraham. So when he's looking for that person for his servant's son, he's looking for the best. And he said, you know what? Rebecca goes above and beyond. And although Rebecca did not expect to receive anything in return for what she did, the servant rewarded her. She didn't know who this man was. She didn't know that he was the servant of Abraham. She didn't know that he was looking at her and kind of looking at the characteristics that she displayed, and looking at her in consideration of being the wife of the servant of the wife of Abraham's son. But when he saw her heart of serving others, her heart of going above and beyond, you know what he did? It goes down as we look in Genesis 24 through 22. Rebecca was rewarded for what she did. Now, she was not looking for anything in return. And that's how we have to do. When we are serving, we have to serve as we're serving God and serve not looking for something extra in return. If it's your job, then you know what? I get paid for what I do. If I go a little bit extra, then you know what? I'm paid for what I do. But going a little extra above and beyond, it gives you favor even with your employers. When you think about being on your job, if you all are employers, then you'll know that as an employee, you look for those workers who go above and beyond. You don't look for those workers who are just doing enough to get by and say that I did my job, I did what was in my job description, but you are looking for those that you don't have to tell them every step of the way of what they need to do. You don't have to ask them to do things constantly, but they take the initiative. They see a need. And because they've got an excellent view of things and they want to serve and do their job with a degree of excellence, guess what? You don't have to tell them every step that they need to take. If you're the usher, at your church, or if you're a minister at church, when you're doing it with a spirit of excellence, guess what? A spirit of excellence is going to prepare. A spirit of excellence is going to be looking for even what it is that needs to be done. You're not just standing at the door watching people come in and out and taking them to a seat. But, if you're set to serve as that usher at your ministry, guess what? You're looking for anything that needs to be done while you're at your post. You might see somebody in the pew who needs something. Guess what? Then your job, although it might not be in your job description to go in and hand them a Kleenex, guess what? If you see a need, you go above and beyond. So you always go above and beyond. The same when it comes to ministering. As you're ministering in the pulpit and God shows you a need for somebody, your job is not just to ignore that need. Although we might have, written out what we're going to do during each particular minute of that ministry, or what we're expected to do, or what that expectation is. But sometimes other needs arise. Sometimes things come up that need to be taken care of. So always, whenever you are assigned responsibilities, your focus should be, how can I take it to the next level? How can I identify a need? How can I fulfill my job duties, fulfill my responsibilities with a degree of excellence? So if you're a teenager, if you're a young person and you have chores at home, don't let your mom have to tell you every step. If your job is to wash the dishes and you see that the floor needs sweeping too, then guess what? Take it above and beyond and sweep the floor too. She doesn't have to come in and ask you to go and sweep the floor. If you see that the floor needs to be swept, just go and sweep it. Go above and beyond what I'm asked to do. Even as a supervisor, one thing that I hate is having to tell an employee step by step what to do. Yes, it's in your job description, what your responsibilities are, but sometimes there are other needs that arise. And a good employee is always going to be looking for other needs that have to be fulfilled. They're always looking for something else that they can do. Somebody who's lazy and who's just there to make a paycheck, they're going to do what's in their job description and nothing more. And I've heard employees say this, they say, you know what, this is what I'm hired to do and I ain't doing nothing else. Whether it's McDonald's or in corporate America, guess what? There's always something more to do. And you might get there and only do what's required of you, of that's in your job description. But guess what? If you want to be promoted, if you want to go to the next level, if you want to be considered, because you never know when a new opportunity is going to arise. You never know when a new job position is going to open. You never know when there's going to be consideration of a person for a promotion. And when you have that spirit of excellence upon you, that spirit and that attitude of going above and beyond what's asked of me, then guess what? When promotion time comes, when opportunities for growth comes, when a management position comes along, you're not going to look at that employee that just did the bare minimum. You're going to look at that employee that went above and beyond the expectation. You're going to look at that person that I don't have to tell them every little step to take or everything to do, but they've got a mindset that when they see something needs to be done, I don't have to ask them, but they've got a mindset and they have the initiative that they get it done. You want to be that person who fulfills needs, who recognizes needs, don't have to be asked to tell them, and have a mindset to fulfill those needs. Not that, no, it's not your company, it's somebody else's company if you're an employee. It's somebody else's company, but guess what? You were hired to do a job. When that company succeeds, guess what? You succeed also. So always go above and beyond, because you just never know who's watching you. You never know who's looking at you. If you look at Facebook, you're always seeing people and employees who are caught going above and beyond what they were supposed to do. They go a little extra. And one of the employees that I saw at one of the restaurants, there was an older gentleman. You all probably saw this on Facebook, and somebody captured her. Although her job was to bring his meal out to him, when she saw that he was not able to cut his meat, guess what she did? She came on down and cut his food for him, so that he would be able to enjoy that meal. There was another young lady who worked at Walmart. And, she saw the mother with many children and struggling, trying to, pay for her groceries. And she stepped right in to hold the baby. She wasn't hired to hold babies. I'm sure that wasn't in her job description, but she knew, that mother had a need, and her responsibilities was to come, to serve, and to make, the even people who come into Walmart, to help out as needed. And she could have argued, it's not my responsibility to hold nobody's baby. But when she saw that need, guess what? She stepped in, and it was greatly appreciated. And I'm sure that none of these people knew that they were going to go viral for their acts, but because it was in their heart. That was what was in their heart, to serve and to go above and beyond what was expected of them, because they identified a need. So let me encourage you that when you do see a need, whether it's on your job, in your life, whether you're just walking about in the community, go above and beyond. Don't just look at, oh, that doesn't have anything to do with me, or that's not my business. If there is a need, you know what? Your responsibility is to help that need as the daughter of the Most High God. So I encourage you to do so. And when you're doing it and your heart is not what's in it for me, but your heart is that heart to serve, I guarantee you God is going to reward you, and he's going to do it openly, just as he did with Rebecca. Now, you might not get exactly what Rebecca got, but God rewards openly. And when we look at in Genesis 24:22, it says that Rebecca was rewarded for her service. And this is in my word. It shows us how she was rewarded. Abraham's servant came and gave her a golden nose ring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets for her wrist, weighing 10 shekels of gold. Now, what a reward Rebecca received, especially considering that she was looking for nothing in return. It was just what was in her heart, to go above and beyond, to meet needs. And because she did that, the servant of Abraham, the servant, rewarded her with gold jury for what she had done for him. So, whatever it is that you're called to do, I encourage you to go above and beyond what is expected of you. Don't look at what's in it for me. Just think that serve as though you're serving God. When you're on your job, do your job as though you're serving. When you're serving at McDonald's, if you work at a restaurant, serve your clients or serve those patrons that come into that restaurant as though it's God that you're serving. Serve them as though it's God Himself that you are serving. How would you change in how you service people who you had to serve when they came to you? Imagine being a waitress, and imagine God Himself is sitting at that table. How would you change the way that you served? Because it's the God of the universe. Would you serve just like you serve any regular patron, or would you go above and beyond? Now, think about that for a minute. Now, what if you took that mentality of serving every person who came into your business just like you would serve God? Imagine how your patrons would feel. I could almost guarantee you that when they come in, they're going to want you to be their server. They're going to want you to be the person who takes care of them because you make them feel good. So always serve people just like you would be serving God. Do it as though you're doing it unto God. I don't care if it's a homeless person on the street. I don't care if it's a mother with 10 children. Serve as though you're serving God. And when you serve that way, you can't go wrong because you put your best foot forward. And when you put your best foot forward, that's all you can do. And when you do your best and you're serving people and you're doing what's expected of you, going above and beyond what the expectation is, then there's always going to be a reward somewhere. You might not see it immediately, but it will come. So thank you all so much for joining me on this morning for Keys to Becoming a Victorious Woman. As we discussed, lesson number 9, going above and beyond expectations. So I challenge you in whatever you are doing in your day, whatever your responsibilities are, focus on doing a little bit extra today. Our study guide, our self-analysis and study guide starts on page 140. And for our self-analysis, I'm just going to read through these questions and you can kind of ask yourself these questions and kind of see where you stand. And if you find that, but there's some areas that I need to improve when it comes to going above and beyond, then apply that to your life, right? What it is that you need to do and apply it to your life. So the first self-analysis question is, has anyone ever exceeded your expectation in the performance of a service? So have you gone for a certain service and somebody came and they exceeded your expectation? They went above and beyond. They did even more than what you expected to come out of it. How did that make you feel? Whether you were in a restaurant, whether you were in the hospital, wherever you are, has anybody ever gone above and beyond for you? And how did that make you feel? The next question, what is your current attitude towards meeting your assigned duties and responsibilities? When you think of the duties and responsibilities that you are assigned to, what is your current attitude? Do you only meet the minimum requirements or do you exceed expectations on your job, as a mother, as a sister? Do you meet the bare minimum of what's expected of you, or do you take it to the next level and go above and beyond? So analyze yourself on your job, in your business. Are you just doing just enough to get by, or are you going above and beyond? And if you're not going above and beyond currently, in what ways can you improve? So I want you to list things that you can do to improve and to take your level of service to the next level, whether it's in your business, whether on your job, wherever you are. What steps can you take to take your current responsibilities to serve on the next level and to take it above and beyond the expectation? And number 3, how would your life change if you intentionally went above and beyond expectations? So how would your life look differently now if when you went on your job today, you set as a goal that I'm going above and beyond what my boss expects of me? I'm going above and beyond what my job description says. Whether it's in ministry, whether I'm an usher, whether I'm parking cars, how would things work for me if I focused on going above and beyond what the expectation is? So I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to make that list and focus on going above and beyond whatever expectations of you are. And when you go above and you go beyond, guess what? Don't just focus on maybe, don't just focus on going above and beyond when you got eyes on you. Anybody can do it when you know people are watching. But when nobody's watching, focus on going above and beyond. Just cultivate that heart that I want to exceed what the expectation of me is. And when you can exceed at that expectation and it gets to be a habit for you, then guess what? It ingrains in your heart. And now you've developed that character. Now you've developed that trait of going above and beyond at whatever you do. And just keep working at it and focus on, serving others as though you're serving the God of the universe. If I'm washing dishes, how would I change the way I wash the dishes? If I'm gonna use that dish and I'm gonna serve, I would serve him the best. Focus on doing that for everybody. Serve everybody as though you were serving God. Treat people the way that you would want to be treated. If you were the one who owned that McDonald's or owned that Subway and those employees were working for you, how would you want their attitudes to change? How would you want them to treat patrons who came into your restaurant or into your business? That's how your mentality should be. Well, I might be the person who's the cash register, but guess what? My mentality should be, how would I want, if this was my business, how would I want the cashiers at my restaurant treating patrons when they came? I want you treating them good, treating them with the spirit of excellence, going above and beyond meeting their needs so that they can come back and our business can prosper. And when you focus on that, then guess what? Somebody's watching. Remember, God is watching, and God knows how to let the right eyes see you at the right time. So focus on doing whatever you do with the spirit of excellence and going above and beyond the expectations. So thank you all so much for joining me on this morning. Next week, we will continue on to key number 10. Which is being hospitable towards others, being hospitable. And of course, we're still talking about Rebecca. So like I said, when we started talking about Rebecca just demonstrated so many different keys that we can apply to our life and gain victory when we adopt these particular keys to our life. So we'll continue on talking about Rebecca as she shows us how to be hospitable towards other people. So join me back next Monday, every Monday morning until we complete this study at 6:30 a.m. Also, if you missed any of the prior studies on keys to becoming a victorious woman, you can go on Women in Ministry TV on YouTube, and the videos are there. Or you can go on our Women in Ministry Facebook page. So be sure to join us. So I also want to share with you that with Women in Ministry, we also have a prayer, Women in Ministry prayer line. And that number to the prayer line is 1-888-507-7293. And there are different times that the prayer line meets. So you can also go on our Facebook page. I apologize, I don't have those particular times with me, so I'll have to put those up. But the prayer line is open. You can go on the Women in Ministry Facebook page and look at those times. And if you need prayer for any reason, someone will be available and on to pray with you. So thank you all so much for joining me on this morning. And I look forward to you joining me again on next Monday at 6:30. Have a great rest of your week and remember to go above and beyond expectations.